Hello, welcome to this pre-record. We're going to do some Tai Chi together and going to focus on some of the qualities of the movements in the form, some of the accuracy of the stepping, and how you can bring that into your own practice so you really feel confident and stable in your movements. So let's start together with some warm-ups and we'll take it from there. As always, structure. From the feet, from the softening of the feet, feel the pads of the feet soften, feel the muscles in the feet relax, feel the bones of the feet allowed to spread. We want to stack the body on top of the feet. The feet is a reliable, definite sensation in the body and gives us an understanding of how we put everything else on top of it. Everything else that goes on top of the feet wants to be as loose as possible and organized as possible. So to help that, we train by opening up the chest, lifting the sternum, dropping the chin to raise the back of the neck, letting the shoulders melt over the rib cage. Once the body is lifted, take the mind and the awareness inside the body. Feel for how you can drop onto your foot pressure, how you can let everything that you don't need sink towards the pressure in the feet. The pressure is the weight of the body, the force of the weight of the body on the feet. And you want everything that you can melt and release to drop down towards the feet. The things you don't need to let go of are the structure. So maintain a quality of aliveness and presence in your structure. And let the muscles melt around the structure. Bring that sensation of the foot pressure into your awareness. Think of it like a receptacle, like a bowl that can receive beads of water that are dripping down through your body. Your body like a tube, and the beads of water are melting down, being received into the bowl under your feet. With that, we soften the brow. We soften the tiny muscles around the eyes, the jaws, the throat, the chest, and the abdomen, groin, buttocks, and thighs. We just wait until we feel loose and settled. And it doesn't matter how long this process takes. We just draw ourselves more internally aware. When we feel comfortable, the knees open up to 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock. Make adjustments in the body to maintain its uprightness. Then I pass the weight to the right foot. The pressure increases in the right foot and I relax onto it. Position the left, move across and turn. The weight is now pouring into the left foot. The pressure is increasing into the left foot, so I relax onto that. Turn back and settle into both feet. Use the legs, push into that pressure in the feet. Body can rise. Release to the pressure in the feet. Everything, the movement and the releasing inside the body to the feet. Wait until everything finishes. Activate the legs. Release. By now you know that we're trying to time everything so that as we activate the legs, they stop pushing up just at exactly the same time the hands get to the accurate position at the height of the throat. And we release the legs, and by now you know that the releasing finishes both in the physical movement and in the internal release at the same time as we reach the standing, organized, upright posture. And we try to have as little gap between the lifting and the sinking. Sinking, making sure everything's finished, and the beginning of the lifting. So as soon as you stop pushing up, gravity takes over. We're blending with gravity and settling. We're lifting and releasing. Aim to feel a release through the whole body. Every single joint of the body softens and opens. Every single joint of the body seems to become softer as you sink and settle. It's as if all your flesh falls off the bones. The bones remain in a structured, organized frame, and the muscles just fall. The first loosening exercise, when we open up, it's the same lifting. This time the arms open out to the corners, 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock. As we sink, it's the same melting process, but the physical movement is across and turning. But don't think about moving across. Think about going straight down to your foot. So there's a spiraling motion, like water going down a plug hole, downwards to your foot. From the foot to the top. And make sure that the lifting from the leg, the unturning of the waist, all arrive together at the same time as the hands back to the beginning posture. So rather than thinking about moving across, we're going down to the foot pressure. We're coming up from the foot pressure. Without stopping at the top, we're going down to the foot pressure. Can you see how the same ideas, same training ideas are in both exercises? Now, while you're doing these exercises, if, for example, you come up and you find yourself square, but your arms have only got to here, don't worry. Next time, try and incorporate that. Or if your arms lift quickly and you haven't quite got to the middle yet, don't worry about it. Let it go. Do it again the next time. If your shoulders come up, it's not important. What's really good is that you've noticed it. And if you notice something, you can ask a question. You can say, oh, that's interesting. Why did I use the muscles that brought my shoulders up? Because that's not what I'm being asked to do. And you see the habits of the body. You see how the body does things unconsciously. And what we want to try and do is put as much of our consciousness into the sensations of the body. So the control becomes finer and finer, and we rest simply just using our clear intention, and the body follows that intention. We don't have to think what to do. And the difficulty with Tai Chi at the beginning is there's a lot of thinking what to do, how to do it, where the hands go, what the shape of the body is, what the feeling should be, what the principles are. Try not to get too caught up with that. Try to use a feeling of settledness, a quality of released, as a sensation, not as a what to do, but more quality of Tai Chi. We'll do a few more of the first loosening exercise. How do you know if your practice is going well? What are the signs you can look for? So you can tell if what we're doing is working and on the right track. So your movement should be smooth. By that, I mean, once your waist starts to turn, it turns smoothly the whole way until you finish the movement. It doesn't turn a little bit and then you go in a straight line, or it doesn't move to the foot and then you turn. It's one smooth movement the whole time. And if you can do this, it'll mean that you're feeling the movement of your center. You're placing your awareness onto the sensations that tell you, my hips and my waist and my pelvis is now turning smoothly. And I'm starting to soften the muscles in a way that enable it to turn smoothly, because if you don't soften the muscles, something goes out of alignment or tightens to stop you moving. So you have to soften the muscles to enable smooth movement. What are other signs that you can tell if your exercise is going well? Well, you should feel nice and stable. Now, that stability doesn't just arrive at the end. It's not that you move to the posture and then become stable. You're stable the whole time. So you're stable at the beginning, and as you sink and move, you become more and more and more pressed onto the ground and more stable. So I'm stable the whole time in transition between position 1 and position 2. I'm stable the whole time. And you can see how you can bring that into your movements in the form. And so you look and you say, well, when I move here, it feels like my ankle's tight. And you say, okay, what can I do? I know, I'll move until I just feel it tightening. There's the spot where I start to tighten my muscles. And if you look closely, if you look really closely at what you're doing, you'll probably find something isn't changing. Because when you pour water from one glass to another, the water adapts and changes, and the fluid molds to the shape of the glass. But our body doesn't mold to the new position so easily. And the new position we're moving into demands that different muscles are released and aligned. So our muscles, just like the water, need to be fluid enough to find a new position. They can't do that if they're held. So you'll find that just as your ankle gets tight, it's probably, quite possibly, that either your hips, hip joints, or the lower back, or the chest is also not changing. And that not changing body doesn't allow for the release in the ankle. And when I release the hips and when I soften the chest, the whole water flows down through the foot and into the floor. But when there's a block in the hose pipe, so you've got a hose pipe and you've got a block in it and a tension in it, that water can't get through. That's the equivalent. The block in the hose pipe is equivalent to the muscles not letting the weight go through. And it may be in the ankle, it may be in the hips, it may be in the abdomen, it may be anywhere over the whole body. And our job, if we want to change, is to look at what's going on and assess it and have the tools of Tai Chi to help us see what's going on clearly and make some adjustment. So I try to keep the muscles free. And the knock-on effect of keeping the muscles free is that I find stability. Keeping the muscles changing the whole time is that I find a better stability. I may have talked about this idea before, that each idea in Tai Chi, each principle, if you like, is like a piece of a jigsaw, and it fits the next one perfectly. And when one is developed, or when one refines, when one gets better, it has a knock-on effect to the jigsaw that's next to it. So you can see the releasing of the muscles, the softening of the muscles, the fluidity of the muscles is like a jigsaw piece to our Tai Chi, and it helps with our stability. So how do you get stable? Well, you work with softening the muscles. How do you get stable? You work with aiming your body weight toward, or all the changes in your body, all towards the foot and underneath the foot. And these jigsaw puzzles seem to work together to build on each other and develop. Loosening exercise number 2. Starting position the same as 1. 1, soften the muscles. 2, bend the knees, keep bending the knees. 3, keep bending the knees. 4. You want to make sure that this position number 4 is your upright, stable, connected posture, while your muscles are as loose as my shirt, the structure is as strong as the bones, and I'm in the low position. So I'm moving, I'm not just going up and down, I'm moving from position 1, which is the beginning, into my most structured, released, pressed onto the ground, stable condition. That's the condition I'm trying to find at the end of the 4th cycle of the swings of the arms. And to do that, I've got 4 seconds, 1 second per swing of the arm. 1, 2, 3, 4, finish, coming up. 1, use the legs. 2, keep using the legs. 3, 4. By the time I finish with the legs, I'm at the top. And the difference between the top and the bottom is only an inch in distance, okay? I've only gone up an inch in distance, but in that inch, everything has organized and condensed on the way down. I've let go of tension in the body. I've settled myself onto the ground, calmed down, and found my Tai Chi posture. On the first drop of the arms, draw the mind inside and soften the muscles. On the second swing, start the body moving down by bending the knees, and continue that process through the whole body till you get to 4. Coming up, activate the legs till you get to the top. Soften the muscles. Start the downward movement. 2, 3, 4. Coming up, soften the muscles. Activate on the left. Now it can be quite soporific because it's just a repeated cycle. Try and keep a really sharp, clear mind. They say in the classics that your mind should be like a hawk about to catch a prey, really alert. What are we alert to? alert to the sensations in the body, alert to the intention that we're trying to generate. The intention is to try to make the body follow the principles. Know the principles well that you're aiming for, and do your very best to ensure the body follows those principles. If you find your mind wandering off, draw it back to the body sensations, draw it back to the program that you've given yourself for this exercise. How do we know we're doing the exercise well? Well, for a start off, my shoulders aren't doing this. For a start off, the shoulder remains seated in the socket. This is opening up to move the arm or to move this part of the hand from the hand to the elbow. The muscles here and the back are opening up to create this movement. When I drop the arm, it's not that I'm swinging from here. It's that I'm closing here. I'm opening and closing, opening and closing, opening and closing, not swinging. Okay, so this is like cooked spaghetti. There's no activation at all in the arm. It's just like a dead 8-pound piece of meat dropping. It's not what we want. We want to slowly lower. Take the force that holds the arm up, slowly take that force away. So the force that holds the arm in place, the muscles that keep the arm up, slowly take that force away so the arm can become weightless. Don't keep the arm weightless the whole time. Slowly take it away. Feel what it feels like to reduce the power in the muscles so the elbows draw in. Last thing. We've talked a bit about stabilizing. We've talked about letting the muscles become soft to enable my body to settle into the feet. Any of these things will give you an indication that your practice is going well. We've talked about calming down, not thinking about it, feeling the body, feeling the sensations of the body, aware of changes, not being rigid. These are all Tai Chi ideas. Going to get rid of that dog. I'll just put us on pause for a moment. Let's have a look at some stepping in Tai Chi, because this occurs throughout the whole of the form and is really important for the way we move. And I just want to bring some clarity into the stepping process. So I'm going to talk it through, have a look at what I'm doing, and then we'll work on it together. So the first stepping is how I move from facing forwards to 90 degrees. My hips are both soft, folded, and seated. Make sure your hips face forwards. So you don't want your hips at an angle, you want your hips turned and seated. so you're facing straight ahead. Your front foot, the outside edge of your front foot is straight ahead. Follow that line with your hips. What you'll find is that the front hip joint feels deeply folded and the back thigh feels elongated. So this hip feels soft and folded in, and the back thigh feels longer. And in this posture, called the bow stance, you want shoulder width between the feet and 55% of your weight in the back foot and 45% in the front. So you can think of weight as the sensation you feel under your foot. So the pool of pressure, if you like, that's under the back foot is slightly more than under the front foot. And where is the body? Where is the center line of the body? It's right in the middle and right in the middle forward. So it's not forward 70-30, which is often taught in some of the martial arts. It's not back, it's right in the middle, centrally stable. Body's upright, and we feel relatively comfortable. Notice the word relative, because that depends on your practice and how toned your muscles are in receiving the weight of your body. The first movement is that we move on to the front leg. There's a softening in the hip joint. There's a slight folding. That's going to make my hips move slightly, ever so slightly to the corner. So instead of straight ahead, if I move straight ahead, it'll bring my weight onto the ball of my foot and the big toe. I want to soften the hip joint, take the weight to the center of the foot. So I'm in effect, I'm slightly turning this way. That sinking changes my weight distribution from 55 on the back, 45 on the front, to 80% on the front, 80% on the front. So that small little turn, there's quite a lot of sinking going on towards the front foot. I feel stable in the front foot. I've got 80% of my weight in the front leg. Now I shift my body weight. I haven't moved forward to do that. You'll hardly see any movement at all. I'm 55 in the back leg and 45 in the front. There's a small turning to the corner, and now I'm 80% in the front leg. It's not a movement forwards, it's a sinking downwards. Once you're 80% in the front leg, then you turn your body alignment over your foot. So now I move onto the foot and turn to the corner. My hips turn to the corner and my alignment is over my foot. I'm single weighted. All my weight is in my left leg and I'm facing the corner. Let's just do those three things. First is find the posture. Organize it so your center line is in the middle, your shoulder width, your front foot's forward, your front hip is soft. And you feel seated. Then 55% in the back leg. When you feel that, that's the starting place. Sink to the front foot with a very slight turn. Step one. Step two, move your whole body weight onto the left foot. Here, you need to pivot on the ball of your back foot. Can you see? I've lifted my heel. The movement forward has raised my heel. Movement into the front leg has slightly raised my heel, the back leg. And as I move across and over onto the foot, I pivot on the ball of the foot. I'm 100%. Now I can take a step with the heel of the front foot. Foot faces the next direction, which is at 90 degrees. And it's shoulder width. So if I do it this way, move on to the front foot, turn, pivot on the ball of the foot, take a step, shoulder width. Can you see that shoulder width to the new direction? Then when I move forwards, I'm not thinking of moving towards the foot. I'm thinking of dropping straight down into the mid position. The mid position, the feet are at 90 degrees and I'm right in the middle. Okay, I haven't turned my waist. So I move forward and turned, pivot the ball of the foot, take a step, look, the toes are up. As I drop and as I arrive, the ball of the front foot also arrives. So I found my lowest place here, found my sunk place. Then I turn the hips to the new direction and bring the thigh and the back foot with it. My center line is still in the middle. I'm facing the new direction. I sink and square. Now I'm in the new position with 55 in the back, 45 in the front. So I move forwards with a very small turn. It's not so much a movement forward, it's a sinking forward to get 80% in the front leg. But then I move and turn. Now I'm over my foot, 100% pivoted on the back ball. Step with the heel. The foot, the ball of the foot drops. I'm going straight down into the middle position. Straight down. My knees are bending. Turn the waist. Both hips turn. The thigh moves with the waist. Back toes come in. And as I sink down into the posture, I square the hips. 55, 45, making sure I'm in the middle, organized. And we just keep going back and forth between the two postures. So let's do some of that together. Establish the posture you want to start from. Melt. Let the weight pour to your front foot. Don't bring your body forwards. Allow there to be a very small turning in that. Then there's going to be a bigger turning in the opposite direction as you move your weight onto and over the foot. That's where you move your alignment over your foot, turn the body weight, drop the remaining 20% of your body weight into your foot and pivot on the ball of the back foot. Now I'm single weighted. I can step. The step is slightly outwards. If I step forwards, I may end up too narrow. I want to make sure that the step is shoulder width and is slightly outwards, 1 foot across. Foot being my shape of my foot, not distance. 1 shoulder foot width across. Then the next one is sinking in. This movement is exactly the same as our number 2 loosening exercise. Done over 4 seconds. However, in number 2, I'm just going straight down. In this movement, I'm going from 100% on one leg into the middle. From 100% on this leg, I'm sinking. Now I'm in the middle, both legs. Both legs are sinking, both legs are drawing me down. Remember in the first loosening exercise, we said don't think about moving across. Otherwise, you'll move your hips and not your base. Move from the base. The base changes and draws you down towards the foot. The rest of the body follows. Here, exactly the same thing. Step. Don't think about moving into the center because this leg won't change. All that will happen is you'll glide across. Think about dropping down to both feet so that when you arrive, both feet are stable. Then you can look at turning. Then you can look at settling. Move forward. Sorry, that's the wrong instruction. You sink into the front leg with a small turn. 80% in the front leg. Then you move forward onto the front leg. 100% in the leg, facing the corner. Then you can step with the heel of the foot. Then you can sink in. My feet are at 90 degrees to each other. My waist is in the corner. I'm going to bring my waist to the front foot direction. With it, the back toes come. Settle. Let the back knee bend. 55% in the back, 45 in the front. Release the pressure in the back leg. Sink to the front. Turn and move. Step. Sink in. Arrive. Turn the waist, turn the back foot in. Sink, drop the back knee and square as you load up the back leg and settle into the stable position. Release the back leg and sink into the front with a small turn. Move the body across on the front leg. Now I'm facing the corner. Step with the heel. Glide in, sinking, sinking. Facing the corner, turn the waist and the back toes. Sink the back knee and stabilize into the posture. Now, if this was a Zoom class, I'm sure there'd be some questions, or I'd be able to watch your movement and make some comment on what I'm seeing. But because it's a recorded lesson, it gives me a chance just to be really, really clear about the accuracy. And that's the nice thing about Zoom, is we can be really clear about the accuracy on Zoom. And you can replay it, you can see it, you can watch it again, you can see if your body is able to do that. And remember, if you find it difficult to do, or if you can't do it well or smoothly, generally it's because your muscles are holding. Generally there's a holding pattern in the muscles, and when that holding pattern shifts, you find so much more freedom of movement. So if you're standing in this posture and you can't get your waist square, it's probably that you've got a holding pattern, maybe in the lower back or maybe here, that isn't softening enough. And when you can let go of these muscles, when you can find the way of talking to these muscles to tell them to soften and change, so they don't block your movement like that hose pipe, that blockage in the hose pipe that doesn't let the water through. When you can soften these muscles, you can find these postures much, much, much more easily. But if we're trying to push ourselves into postures, it's a bit like doing yoga in a way. Sometimes people work too externally and try and get into a posture and their body isn't ready for it. You know, the body is like, the body and the muscles are like a piece of blue tack. You have to warm it up and get it ready and pliable before it will do its job. And the muscles, if they're held or stiff, they just won't go into a posture. Or they'll kind of go into it, but they'll hurt, or they'll tell you about it anyway. And we don't want that. We want our muscles to change as we find the postures. This is what we're looking for, to blend with the movement. So we become the movement, not that we go against the movement. So let's put this stepping into the form, because we want to make sure that the lower body or the base working well, the upper body follows the base. One of the principles of Tai Chi is the base leads the movement and the upper body follows. So in the form, from the beginning, please. Place your intention on creating a very alive structure, right the way through the chest, through the crown of the head, around which the muscles can melt. When you're ready, the knees will bend. Small signal, bend the knees to the corners. Change all the muscles in the body so that you can remain balanced and upright. Pass that connection to the right foot. Sinking straight down as you turn. Find your stability. Finish the turn as you arrive on the left. Turn back. Settle down. Use the legs. Release the legs. Finish together. Turn both hips to bring the back foot in. Sit to the left foot, sinking straight down to the left. Turn to hold the ball. Sink into both feet, holding the ball. Here's our first turn to the corner. And facing 3 o'clock, I want to turn to 12 o'clock. Soften the front hip, 80% stability on the front leg. Move onto the front leg and turn, pivoting on the ball of the left. Step with the left heel, glide in, sinking down. Square the hips, bring the back toes in. Drop the back knee as you finally sink and settle into the posture. Ward off left. Change to 80% in the front leg as you release the tension or forces in the back leg. Slight turning. The bottom hand, the right hand, comes onto the center line, protecting the groin. Move on to the left foot and turn. 100% in the left foot, step right. Feet are at 90 degrees, shoulder width. Sink straight down into the middle. Square the hips. Bend the knee, and as you finally square the hips, let the left knee bend and load the back leg. Release the back leg as you sink into the front leg. Square. Draw back to the back foot. Roll back. Turn back to 3 o'clock. As you move into the 50-50, sinking into the center, the wrists touch. Release the pressure in the back foot by sinking into the front. Draw back to the back foot. Don't think about moving backwards. Think about sinking and releasing towards your stable back foot. Move forward, drop the elbows, sinking into both feet. And a small push to the fingertips. Do that section again, please. You want to try and take this information and repeat it until you can get very clear in yourself what you're aiming to do. Very clear in your message to your body. I'm trying to tell my body to move in this way. I'm trying to look for these results. And I'm noticing that I'm not finding these results. There's a question. Why? What am I feeling? What tension am I feeling? What lack of concentration, what lack of clarity stops me from being simply stable in the posture? Because I see beginners and they're in this position, it's too much weight forward, they're leaning backwards, their hands are up here. And I say there's a lack of clarity. Because I say to the person, can you put your arm in front of the center of the chest? Yeah, sure. And they do that, and the hand's right in front of the center of the chest. And then I say, do the move, and it's up here. Sometimes it's because there's so many things to think about, which is one of the reasons we don't want to think too much, because there are too many fragments. But getting that feeling of the posture, the shape of the posture, the quality of the shape, so that it becomes second nature, so we know our body. So when we need to put ourselves into that posture, bang, there it is. I know that posture well. I know how to achieve that posture, the quality of that posture. I don't have to think, where does my left arm go? Where does my right arm go? Are my hips square? Is my lower back soft? No, I just put myself, bang, there's the posture. Okay? This is what we want to try and achieve in our practice. And it doesn't come from doing the form again and again and again. It doesn't come from repetition. It comes from asking the right questions of yourself and trying to find the answers. Knowing the questions, knowing the principles of Tai Chi, and knowing how to recognize if you're doing them or not. Let's go from the beginning. I'm going to face the opposite way. Then body reorganizes. The weight shifts to the right, pivot on the ball of the left, sink to the left foot, stabilizing in the left the whole time, turning the whole time, finishing the turning when you arrive over the left. Small push, body turns back and once again sinks and settles. Use the legs to come up. Release. Everything finishing together. Turn. Sink to the left. When you're over the left, turn open. Sink to both feet. Load up. Change the pressure from the back foot to the front foot. Move on to the front. Turn. Step left. Sink in. The whole of the left foot touches down as you arrive in the center. Square the hips. Sink in. Bend the back knee and square the hips. Release the pressure in the back leg. Sink to the front foot. Move on to the front foot. Turn. Step left. Step right. Sink in. Ball of the right foot touches down. As you arrive in the center, square the hips. Sink down, the back knee bend. The final part is the back knee finally bends, loading up the back leg as the hips square. Release. Turn back. Facing 3 o'clock, release to the back foot. Nice and stable over the back foot. As you turn, the left hand lifts. As you turn back, it folds at the elbow. Facing 3 o'clock on the back leg, sink into both feet. As you arrive in the center, the wrist touch. Change pressure from the back foot to the front, press. Sink to the back foot. Sink into both feet. Change pressure from the back foot to the front. And to finish off, we'll just look at the posture we did last week, which is embrace tiger, return to mountain, and I'll just cover a couple of the key points in that one posture just for the last couple of minutes. The first third of the form finishes in cross hands, and make sure it's a nice, big, open, round feeling, with the cross of the hat, the wrists crossed at the height of the throat, height of the nape of the throat. Shoulders still released, they're not up by my ears, they're released, sitting in the sockets, not pulled up from the sockets. That means that the muscles in the middle of the back are also released. First movement, I'm dropping onto my right leg in exactly the same way as the first loosening exercise. So I'm sinking rather than thinking of moving across and turning. I'm sinking down. My left toes open up. They pivot on the heel, so there's no weight in the left foot. First move. Second move is I turn my waist, and with it, my left toes come in, and with it, my left hand lifts. I sit away from my right hand, keep turning the waist, draw the left hand into the ear, draw the right toes in, step to the corner, and move into the 50-50 posture, sinking. Turn the base and settle into the posture. Embrace tiger, return to mountain. Remember the, I'll do it the way I do it in the form. Parallel stance. Drop onto the right. Turn, staying on the right. Lift the left hand. Move away from the right and fold in the left. Draw in the right toes. Step to the corner. Here, same stepping. Sink into the center. Sink. When the ball of the right foot touches down, I'm in the middle. The whole body's sinking. My left arm sinks as the body's sinking down and forwards. I'm facing 4:30. Load up the back leg by squaring the hips to 4:30, 4:30, and the small change of pressure from the back leg to the front leg, and the hands move. So the last little bit is from facing 4:30, which is straight ahead. I'm going to turn very slightly by softening here and turning this way. Can you see the similarity there between ward off right, where I soften here and turn, and holding the ball here, turning to face this way, I turn a little bit, I change the pressure from the back leg to the front leg with a very small turn and folding of the hips. Very similar. Then I move the weight on, take a step, move in. I'm going to leave that bit a bit ambiguous because it's going into too much technical stuff. Basically, at the end of Embrace Tiger, Return to Mountain, the hands are on the center line of the body. My right hand is in line with the parallel to the thigh, and there's a very small turn to the corner. I turn back, the hands roll over a ball. So now my bottom hand, which was my right hand, turns and is now the top hand. I sit back and I do roll back. Same as before, press. Sit back, push. Same as before. Everything facing up past 4. So when we did that movement before, roll back, press and push, I was facing 3 o'clock. After Embrace Tiger, Return to Mountain, I'm doing exactly the same, but now I'm facing past 4. So one time together, cross hands, drop onto the right foot, left toes open, stay on the right turn, move to the left, sinking, keeping the body turning. Draw in the right toes, there's no weight in the right toes. Step to the left corner with the heel of the right to 4:30. Sink into 4:30. Sink into the center. Square the hips, load up and release. Hands turn round a ball. Draw back to the back foot, facing 4:30. Press, facing 4:30. And push, facing 4:30. Well, I hope there's been plenty in that lesson for you to look at your own moves, to analyze what you're doing, and to enjoy your changes that you can find in your Tai Chi. Any questions, any thoughts? Yeah, give me a call, give me an email, or ask me in the next Zoom together. Thanks very much. Bye for now.